Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, my patrons, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor. So, on the way to writing to my patrons directly, but in the routine of broadcasting before I write, Hermit.com is shut down, and the blog associated with it is being backed up and about to also be shut down, and that's in response to lack of demand, I guess, because I had ads up on all the highest rated pages and sent emails out to those that stay on my list. So there's a lot of writing to do today, and not much in terms of broadcast. I just have two things until I open my toy bag that came out of the car from my tour, and all of a sudden I had everything to talk about again. But just two things. One of them is YouTube. Insofar as I've had to work with getting my phone in the same frame of mind, using the same account with Google on YouTube that my laptop does, because I was gaining the key to live stream from my laptop and not within my phone. Well, yesterday I think I accomplished the issue of being able to actually be on my phone and either gather my broadcast key or reset it and take the new one. However, but control of that password, that broadcast key, from phone to phone is better than laptop to phone. And the reason number one gave me a title, and for me not to bore you with my overly challenged ability at getting electrons to work, in doing that, it seems apparent that YouTube is doing a lot to enable a person to live stream and to edit their own videos, and they're doing a lot of enhancement, is what I'm trying to say, to what YouTube is about and how to use YouTube, and that enhancement is a good thing, because it usually means that the technology has evolved to where more people can accomplish what they want without having to figure out much stuff. So. That was number one, is that it seems like a lot of enhancements are coming into the ability to live broadcast and then other broadcast and edit your videos. And so keep in mind that YouTube is part of Google, and so it has a lot of resources behind it and is leading the way in, maybe not leading the way, but standardizing within their platform, Google, Android, la-da-da, ways of doing things that make it much easier to be a live broadcaster. And yet I don't really see any enhancements other than contributing to the income stream through AdSense. And that's why Patreon still makes sense as a venue for what you put out there. Perhaps beyond what you do directly through what you have in YouTube or that, I don't know how that worked. I unlisted and delayed my last video, but sent my patrons a link to it, so they'd have it early. Not sure how that worked, but that was the idea. So, oh, and I already talked about number two. Number two is shutting it down, and by that I mean that it was such a weird feeling to feel like it was time to shut it down and take hermit.com offline. And with my fingers crossed that I have all of that data, a huge amount of information was stored at hermit.com, at least 24 point something gigabytes. So that's offline, and the blog that was attached to it, I'm not even sure what the address or how you would find that without getting to it from the hermit.com. But that's out there and being backed up, and soon that will be shutting down as well. So if there was anything in that you wanted, be sure to go save it or print it out or whatever you might do. And then the end was what? Oh, so, yeah. It's me that invests my time in trying to communicate to you, but and because you're even listening to this, it's my gratitude that you have done that. So thank you for listening. Because as with the 44 apps that once existed on the iTunes store that lost the capability of technologically maintaining them on the shelf, so to speak, to now the shuttering of hermit.com and the blog soon to be. All things have their phases. So while they were there, I hope that you got to see them, because it was my intent for me to share them with you. And that's because life can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain and add two and two. Direct your thinking. I heard of someone recently that they could teach you just by the way they looked at things, just by the way this person looked at things. And I'm not talking about myself or anything, but just knowing it was not, but to be taught by just how you view things. And that's always your thing, right? So read between the lines. Who does that? See behind the curtain. Who suspects that there is a curtain, identifies what the curtain is, and sees not only what's behind the curtain, but who's presenting or projecting the curtain. Evaluate points of view and recognize there's a difference between a traditional point of view and an ideal point of view, in as much as the ideal that I'm talking about with MMP comes straight out of Joe's book. And whatever else you get from Pilates through a traditional point of view will or won't line up with whatever the ideal is, if there is an ideal there at all. See? To the extent that there is an ideal within Pilates, it disrupts So that when you evaluate points of view, and actually just when you watch movement, I saw a beautiful example of a still picture of a person in control push-up front on the reformer, meaning face down, prone, right? With a line through the head and trunk was great until it ended in an anemic pointed foot. But the ears, shoulders, hips, knee, ankle, and yet the arms were out at an angle, which is understandable why it's out there. And I would adjust the apparatus, meaning make them more length than the reformer, so that the arms could be vertical. Because if you're going to shoot a picture that has such an ideal in it, as a photographer and a affectionate Pilates person for alignment, then why not show perpendicular? If you're going to show that kind of line through your spine, that your arms show vertical. So when you evaluate points of view, that's when you play Christopher Columbus, when you're negotiating for the impact you're going to have on your student or your class or your studio or tribe or brand or lineage or I say school, all of it. Corporations, insurance companies, even though I know they're corporations, it's like they're the father of all commerce. So you add 2 and 2, Aretha Franklin, you get paid in cash and you either hand the cash to your bodyguard or you put it in your purse and have it on the piano as you played and sang, of course. It's such a demonstration of Columbus in terms of brazenness for asking for as much as he could possibly imagine. And Aretha Franklin, who made an agreement to get up on stage and sing, and when she was ready to do that, she wanted to be paid up front. Must have been a big bodyguard. Anyway, when you add 2 and 2, even if you don't reveal it openly, your understanding of a point of view that sees an ideal within Joe's original work, I believe can make a difference in your effectiveness as a Pilates instructor, and as such then help you survive as a Pilates instructor. Because from within the MMP point of view, you know what Pilates is. It's Joe's definition. And by virtue of that, by knowing complete coordination of being, thinking, and observing, by understanding those three capabilities within the human being, and that your role then as a Pilates instructor is to achieve the definition as a state of being in the body in the moment of the doing. You go diving for that. You reach for that. The rest you'll have to pick up on previous recordings. I tried to take the video that recorded to my phone, and from my phone rename it, but without the name of the designated file that it recorded anyway. Ideally, you capture your live recordings to your phone and then take them from your phone to your hard drive, your server. Because your phone fills up too fast with live video as a recording. Okay? And if not, every time I record live, it just overwrites the last file. And then I'm trying now to recapture it from YouTube servers. What you want to do, what I think I want to do is copy my files from my phone to my server so that I never have to get them back from YouTube. And that takes me back to number one. In summary, YouTube is really enhancing your ability to do what I'm doing with far more sophistication, but still not as good in terms of creating an income stream as it is to have Patreon part of your plan. Even if you did just shut down the reason for asking for patrons. So that's in the email to come after the Facebook broadcast of what we just talked about. After adding 2 and 2, you direct your own thinking. Geist.